But this episode is a little bit different. This is in fact a solo Q&A. Lots of you in the emails and in the YouTube comments have been requesting that I do a solo Q&A where I just answer a bunch of questions. And so what we've done is that we have asked our Discord community. Yes, we have a completely free Discord that you can join, link down below. It's called the Friend Zone, and it's got lots of people on it. It's very active, it's very fun. But we asked the Discord community for questions, and we've categorized them into the 5 main categories of a good life, i.e. health, wealth, happiness, love, and impact. And so I'm just going to be blitzing through those questions. If for whatever reason you don't want to hear me answering various questions, then you are more than welcome to watch another episode or listen to another episode where I interview someone interesting. But this is going to be a solo Q&A, so let's just dive straight into it. So let's start with the health category of questions. The first question is, hey Ali, how are you today really? Which is a good question. I feel like the whole how are you thing, we often don't, I don't know. People often ask me like, how are you? And it's just like, I don't actually take that question seriously. So if I take the question seriously, how am I? Honestly, I think I'm pretty good. I didn't get much sleep last night. I got maybe about 4 or 5 hours of sleep, something like that. I had some friends come over from America for breakfast this morning. That was awesome. So it's been like a very social day. And we're now filming this. We're going to be filming another video. And then I'm heading off to a startup founders retreat later this evening. So I feel pretty good on that front. One thing I haven't taken so seriously in the last week or two has been my health, in the sense that I haven't really done much working out, haven't done much sports. Life has sort of gotten in the way. My friend Sheen was visiting from Dubai, and so we ended up having loads of social stuff going on, which I think is fine. But I'd really like to get back into kind of taking the health stuff a little bit more seriously. But broadly, you know, can't really imagine life getting much better. There are a few things we can work on, like anyone else, but like feeling very privileged, feeling very blessed, all that fun stuff. All right, next question is, what habits are you building / can suggest to others to live healthier lives? So there's a few specific things that I'm working on. Number one, I am trying to actively improve my sleep. So I've been listening to a lot of episodes of the Huberman Lab podcast from Andrew Huberman. We'll link that down in the video description and in the show notes if you want to check it out. And he's got a few episodes about kind of evidence-based, science-backed methods to have better sleep. So the ones that I'm trying personally are, for example, sleeping and waking up at the same time every day, not having my phone with me. That's pretty standard stuff. But also, for example, not having caffeine in the afternoons after like 2 p.m. because the half-life of caffeine is pretty long. Also, one thing I've started doing is turning the lights really dim, because I've got dimmable lights, and lighting a candle, because apparently like overhead lights and the way that they hit our eye, retina and eye and stuff, our body responds to them in a different way than like low hanging lamps or candles, because in theory our circadian rhythms in our brain are set by kind of ambient light conditions and light coming from above. Because if you can imagine, back in our evolutionary past, we didn't have lamps and lights and things, and so we've evolved to take advantage of overhead light signals, i.e. the sun, as a way of kind of regulating our circadian rhythm. And apparently, if you turn those lights down and light a candle instead, or turn those lights off and light a candle instead, it sort of is a signal to the brain that, okay, it's sleepy time now. Yeah, I do find that lighting a candle does help me. I feel like it helps me sleep better. It helps me feel a bit more like, okay, now it's time to wind down. It's like I'm not having my phone with me anymore, that kind of stuff. So sleep is a big part of this. Another thing I'm trying to vaguely take more seriously is healthy eating. I intend this year to get better at cooking, which is a bit of a long-term project. But the sort of more proximal decision that I'm making in terms of how I spend my, well, money and time is by actually aiming to order healthy options from takeaway when I'm ordering options from takeaway, and trying to figure out what are some sensible defaults. Because I feel like, and you know, this is something I've been reading a bit about, that it's when we're having to make a decision in the moment that we tend to make bad decisions about our health choices. Generally because in the moment when we're making a decision, we're probably stressed, we probably don't have much time, we're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed. And so it's very easy for our, I guess, willpower circuitry to get hijacked. And the solution to that is to figure out some kind of system, to have a few default meals. Okay, if I'm ordering from Nando's, this is my meal. If I'm ordering from a poke house, this is the meal that I'm going to order. Your mileage may vary for that. If you don't live off takeaways like I do, then you might want to, I don't know, have default meals when it comes to cooking. But just eating a little bit healthier on that is something I'm trying to do more of. And thirdly, exercise. I mean, all of this stuff, sleep, diet, exercise, it's all very standard. There's nothing particularly fancy here. But in terms of exercise, what I'm aiming to do is do weight training 3 times a week. And I'm trying to figure out a way of incorporating playing squash and badminton and tennis into my life as well. And that acts as my sort of cardio in a fun way that doesn't necessarily involve running. Although I'm kind of thinking, maybe I should take up running. I'll give it a go. I sort of tried it a bit in lockdown and then my feet started to hurt, so I stopped doing it. But We've got a few people on the team who are absolutely addicted to and obsessed with running, so there must be something to it. So that's something I might be trying out. So it's all very, very standard stuff. If we're looking for more niche things, I am in the process of reading a book called Lifespan by David Sinclair, which is more about the nitty-gritty of what we can do to live longer lives, and what sort of calorie restriction and intermittent fasting and Mediterranean diet. And I'm sort of dabbling with exploring that kind of stuff when it comes to living a healthier life. And I'm also looking into these things like, for example, I take a brain care supplement called Heights, which is basically a glorified multivitamin that has blueberry extract and these other things that allegedly have some amount of evidence behind them that kind of help increase our nutritional or reduce our nutritional deficiencies. I also invest in the company and I'm mates with the founder and stuff, and they're cool people. So I'm taking a deep dive into this idea of brain care and what are the things that we need, what are the ingredients that we need to make our kind of minds healthier, happier, that kind of vibe. So those are just a few things off the top of my head. Next question, what is the single best side hustle or business to start as a teenager? Honestly, I think it's anything that will help you make money while leveling up useful skills. So what are useful skills? Useful skills are skills that you can apply to future businesses. So for example, knowing how to sell, knowing how to write, knowing how to copyright, knowing how to build a product, knowing how to code. These are all things that I think really help further down the line. And so if I were a teenager, the business I would start is I would become a Solidity Web3 developer so that I could program on the Ethereum blockchain. And that would be such a no-brainer because the crypto space is absolutely exploding still. And as a teenager, I'd have so much spare time on my hands. Trust me, teenagers have tons and tons and tons of spare time on their hands. I'd be able to learn to code fairly quickly, and then I'll be able to potentially create a crypto product or join a crypto startup where no one really cares about how old I am. That would be the thing that I do because I think that's the next big wave. But once I've done that, I would try and create some sort of software product, maybe in the crypto space, maybe not, and try and actively sell it to businesses who have money to spend on those sorts of software products. So maybe I'd create tools for creators who have money or businesses who have money or something like that. Because even if the thing doesn't succeed, by virtue of trying to build that business, I will have learned all of the skills that would be really helpful for a business that might succeed further down the line. Next question, how did you decide what A-levels to take? I don't want to be locked in if I decide to change career path later. Honestly, no one gives a shit what A-levels you do beyond like university admissions. I mean, I knew I wanted to go to med school, so the A-levels were obvious: biology, chemistry, physics, maths. I did English literature for AS and dropped it for A2. That was pretty standard. If I wanted to get a job anywhere else, no one would care what A-levels I had. So don't worry about your A-level choices if you want to change career paths later in life. It's not a thing that's really going to hold you back. Unless you decide, I don't know, I want to become an economist, etc., then you start working at a bank. And then at the age of 45, you decide you want to be a doctor. At that point, maybe one of the requirements will be a chemistry A-level, in which case you can just do the chemistry A-level because it's not that hard. You can just teach it to yourself. But it's a decision you don't need to overthink. I think choose your A-level choices based on what you think you want your career path to be, or at least what you want to study at university. And your ideal career path will probably change over time as you get more data points. How do you decide what book to read next? Do you have sources you turn for recommendations? And how do you know if the book is right for you or not? Yeah, in terms of book recommendations, I always have way too many recommendations. Like, I follow people on Twitter, I subscribe to a bunch of email newsletters, people in real life recommend books to me, people on my podcast, when I interview them, recommend books to me, people that I have Zoom calls with because I admire them on the internet and I want to be friends, recommend books to me. So I always have a never-ending list of books that I want to read. And once I've finished one, or once I've got everything out of it, I'll often just like willy-nilly decide what do I feel like doing, flick through my Kindle to all the books that I bought, and I'll just start reading the next one. And that's if I'm approaching it in an ad hoc way. A more like legit way of doing it, if I'm reading a bit more seriously, if I'm considering whether or not I want to read a book or not, I'll often look up a book summary. If that summary is available on Shortform, shortform.com/Ali, if you want an affiliate link. Shortform is my favorite book summary source, genuinely. I will look up the book and see if it's available in short form. And if it is, I'll read the summary. And if I vibe with the summary, then I'll read the book. If it's not available in short form, then I'll just look up a summary on Google. Someone will have written a summary somewhere. And that'll help me decide whether it's for me. Sometimes I'll just buy the audiobook and start listening to it and see, okay, do I vibe with this? And if after about half an hour of listening to it at 2.5 times speed, I'm still enjoying it, then I know the book is probably for me. Okay, next question. What is the single most life-changing book you've read? Probably The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Read it when I was 17 or 18, and that changed my approach to career, entrepreneurship, life. The principles in it are fairly obvious now because but it was a very sort of novel book at the time that it was released, around about 2007. But reading that book when I was 17, like 2011 time, around about then, was just absolutely game-changing. So that would be the book that's most changed my life. Alrighty, I think that is it for this Q&A. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching or listening to this, as always, there'll be links to all of the stuff that I mentioned down in the video description or in the show notes. If you haven't seen, I have a vlog channel on YouTube if you would like to be up to date with the daily weekday vlogs on my second channel. That's been going for the last 3 weeks, and we are going to be continuing it for the foreseeable future, so you can see what I get up to day to day. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a review on iTunes. That's like the place where you leave reviews for podcasts, or on Spotify if you're listening to this. We'll put links to those in the video description and the show notes as well. That would mean a lot. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, see you next time.